Hey there, and welcome to Create a Place podcast. I'm Christina York, co-founder and principal at Create & Co. Architecture and Interior Design Studio. As a workplace alchemist and advocate, I'm here to be your guide through the art of designing spaces where people truly work, live, and thrive. With over 25 years experience in human-centered design, planning, and leadership, I'll be breaking down the complex ecosystem of workplace culture and employee well-being into bite-sized actionable insights. Each episode, I sit down with industry leaders, experts, and trailblazers to unpack the complex ecosystem of workplace dynamics. Whether leading a team, running a business, or simply trying to improve your own workspace, this podcast is for you. So tune in to Create a Place as we discover the power of design to transform how we work, live, and thrive. Welcome to Create a Place podcast today. I'm at Power Design here in St. Pete. Power Design is one of those companies where you feel like the culture is the moment, you feel the culture the moment you walk in, not because it's written on the wall, but because of how people show up. And that's evident across social media and in person when you're here on campus. But as the company's grown, that hasn't gone away. It's actually gotten stronger. So today we're talking about what it actually takes to scale a business without losing the culture that made it successful in the first place, and how leadership and place play a role in that. So today I am joined by Trent Morano, Senior Vice President at Power Design, also fellow Coronet board member. And you've been part of this growth and evolution firsthand. So I just want to say thank you. We've had an opportunity to design spaces across the campus. The space we're sitting in, Create & Co. Designed, and some other areas across campus. Been a great experience. So this conversation sits right at the intersection of leadership, culture, and environment. So welcome, Trent.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I've had a chance to watch your podcasts and been very impressed. It's been very organic, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for the invite. Really looking forward to the discussion today, and more importantly, having a chance to reach out to your members that follow you and all the great work that you do for not only Tampa Bay but the surrounding environments as well. So
I appreciate it. We've enjoyed. We were just talking before we started recording. Of all the great things you have going on at Coronet and the core group that has really been getting this going again after the lull over COVID.
Yep.
And it's exciting, to work with you and the rest of the team on the growth and just the new trajectory I think that it has. I'm really looking forward to all that. So I'll just jump right into the questions.
Yeah, let's go.
What's your journey been like? Tell us a little bit about how long have you been with Power Design? And then what has your journey been like through this kind of growth that they've experienced? I mean,
Sure.
It's been phenomenal.
It's been a lot of fun. I would say it's been both energizing and humbling at the same time. I've been at Power Design approximately actually 6 years this week,
Awesome.
which is pretty awesome. Thank you. And I had the privilege of working at both publicly traded companies, large $60+ billion institutions, very, very small startups. And I feel like with Power Design, we're family owned. And I think culture is everything. So back to your question, growth, as we've grown over the last, 6, even more than that, 10, 20 years, growth at this scale forces you to constantly evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, what's worked with 300 people sometimes doesn't always work with 3,000 people.
Right.
So you have to, I think the biggest lesson for me is learning how to lead through others. I think that's critically important, especially as you're trying to achieve scale. The other thing is early on when you're at lower numbers, you're really close to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as you evolve and as you scale, and you know this as an owner, Christina, your impact comes from others who are building, and you're helping to build leaders, and you're also setting clear direction. You're trusting your teams to execute, and it's less about control and more around clarity and expectations.
Right. It's passing down those values, and those expectations down to the next level of leadership, right? So they can continue as it grows, and as those teams grow under them, right?
And I think that's where we've seen, when you have different types of companies that have different departments that we have, we not only have Power Design, but we also have 2 other sister companies. We have LFG, which is our manufacturing and supply chain arm, and then we also have Power Design Resources, which is our lighting distribution channel, our transportation channel. So Now we have three companies underneath the mothership, and it's, you have to make sure you have standard processes, standard procedures, and you really have to trust others. And I think being crystal clear around expectations, making sure there's alignment, and making sure that whether it's the chairman or if it's the person that's sweeping things up at night, you have to make sure it's consistent SOPs across everything. I think
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
that is a big thing. And so across the 3 companies, how many people are we talking about today?
We have approximately 3,200 people employed at Power Design, and then we have another approximately, we call them our Power Partner Network, which is basically our strategic tier of partners that work with us across the U.S. And there's about another 3,000 of those.
That's a lot of people to
Yeah,
scale some culture to.
100%.
That's amazing. So, as it scaled, what's changed most in primarily how you lead and how you see others within the company leading?
It's a great question, and it's interesting. It's the answers evolved as I've matured and kind of grown over the years. I think number one, I've had to become much more intentional. Communication, alignment, and consistency matter more exponentially as you start to grow and scale.
Sure.
You can't rely on proximity anymore. You really need to your culture and your expectations have to be clearly defined, and you have to be able to reinforce them across the different ranks, right? So you not only your direct reports, but their direct reports, and so forth and so on. I also spend more time thinking now more about long-term strategy
Hmm.
versus and developing people versus solving day-to-day problems.
Sure.
So empowering others for those day-to-days, and that's honestly where you start to see growth in people. But secondarily, you can't forget about where you want to be in the next 5 years, and making sure that where you want to be is consistent with where ownership wants to be. So I think with that, you start to lead on how, and you gain lessons learned on how do you develop people, how do you empower people, how do you make sure that what you're sharing with your directs are the same thing that our two sister companies are sharing, and how do you make sure the messaging is clear, it's consistent, you have standard operating procedures that you're following, and then from there you're rallying around the same northern star, so to speak.
And when you're bringing people in, and I know we talked about this, before we got on camera and just the interviewing process and bringing folks in and like you said, kind of setting them up for success for years down the road. You're not just hiring for them for this position here. You need to be thinking in the future, how are they going to develop into what you need 3 to 5 years from now or more?
Yep.
And how are they going to fit? They might not even be under you anymore or your department anymore. And what does that trajectory possibly look like? And what options could they have, to foster that?
Yeah.
In the future. And I mean, it's definitely one of the biggest things I'm sure you look at,
Yeah.
especially fitting them into the culture too and how they respond to that.
Christina and I had a chance to talk about there's this war for talent going on right now, and it's not going away, whether you're in healthcare or in construction or if you're in design.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it comes down to hiring for attitude, being very intentional about what you're looking for. I always say whether it's your company or ours, we're trying to build a team of all stars.
Mhm.
So recruiting and hiring are the most critically important things right now, as you and making sure that, to your point, if you're bringing someone in today, what could they potentially do in the future, and having that long-term mindset and vision. Because I'll look at myself. I came in running an operation to this company. I ran the technology operation for the last 5 years, and my boss was the chief operating officer. And he kind of knew, he was playing chess 5 years ago. I didn't realize this, but he knew right away that at some point I was going to work for the family, Lauren Permy, and she is our chief growth officer. And so here I am now working for her. He kind of knew that at the time, but that's the type of flexibility and the type you want people with the right attitudes and who are willing to adjust to support the cause.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, obviously, and in this war for talent, which we feel too, you want them to come in with the skills, you need them to have the education and the experience, but also, sometimes when push comes to shove, you're looking at the person who's more, readily available, who wants to, has the commitment, that's trainable, that feels like it's a better fit for your culture and for your team and what it looks like for them in the future, right? And
100%.
because so much of that can still be taught once they're in here. And then a lot of times, especially for someone like us at a design firm, there is a way, and there's a power design way. And so having somebody that's a little greener than maybe you
Yeah.
thought, but are willing to jump in and really learn that way and take those skills to a whole nother level within that culture is the perfect scenario, right? The perfect storm.
I,
So he bet on you, so it's paid off, right?
I say attitude over aptitude.
Yeah.
And the other thing for those that have who have kids or who have families that I say like it's interesting as you start developing people to hear feedback on why things may not have worked, right?
Mm,
The glass half empty versus the glass half full approach.
sure.
And I always go back to some very simplistic things in life that we've all been through. When you learned how to ride a bike, we weren't all created equal. We had to learn at some point.
Right.
When you learned how to put on a pair of roller skates or ice skates, we had to learn that. If you take that same mindset into developing people, there are some common themes and commonalities, and you almost take away this glass half empty theme,
Mhm.
and you start looking at things differently, and it becomes less of a crutch with the people that you're developing and more of a like a can do attitude. So to
Yeah.
your point about hiring, A, it's critical. B, the right attitude is important, and we can always teach aptitude. And it may take a little bit longer, but that's okay. I'd rather do that. So
Well, some people have better balance than others, so some
100%.
people caught onto the bike a little
Yeah,
quicker,
that's right.
but now they might be better.
Right. And I
That's
think
true
the
from
big thing
practice.
too is like you look at today, we have multiple generations in the workforce.
Yeah.
It's you have to use the word balance. You have to balance having patience. I think that's a big deal, especially with the different types of workers we have. And again, be focused on the long term. It's okay to have someone learn something in 24 months versus 6. Everyone's created different,
Yeah.
but more importantly, having that patience because people grow at different speeds.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of our culture, and we understand that.
Patience is underrated, I think,
Mhm.
and not just patience for anything and everything that comes your way, but patience for what matters, which is the
100%.
training and the growing. Um, I mean, and we just already dove into this, but this strong culture, how would you describe it? We keep talking about you have this strong
Yeah,
culture, but what does it mean to you, and what does it say to Power Design and the employees? What would they say about it too?
we genuinely care for people. I look at certain events that have come up specifically here in Tampa Bay when we had the hurricanes come through.
Yeah.
When you have 30, 30 to 60 plus people who have lost their homes, and you see the family of Power Design reaching out to try and extend themselves financially to help those employees, it becomes more about the employee versus the profits of the company.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, it's very different than publicly traded companies where it's like profit over people. Um, and that same theme continues to weave throughout. I look at um, something in the month of September, we do, it's an adoption month for like animals, right?
Right.
And our company not only helps cover the costs for adoption, but they also, because we're so big, we span 35 plus states, and there's people in the field, and then there's people here. We make sure that when those field folks can't be here locally, we extend those same types of programs to the field level
Okay.
where they may not be a centralized office in Arizona, for example, to go to,
Yeah.
but the same theme applies to them. And so again, I go back to like that genuine care of people and making sure the same themes at at headquarters, I'm sorry, extend to the field. That's critical because that shows genuine careness. There was that hurricane that went through Jamaica.
Mhm.
We have team members who have family members in Jamaica. We don't have offices in Jamaica. We don't work in Jamaica. But again, the family stepped up to make sure that those team members' families were supported financially. And that says a lot about the type of culture, the type of people who care, our founders. It's over the top. It's like
Yeah.
nothing I've ever seen.
That's huge, and not only is it just good humanitarianism, right, but it's also when you're caring for your people and your people's family, they can feel a little better about what they're doing then, right? They can focus a little more. They can, there's just a sense of, being taken care of, the
Yep.
belonging
Yep.
and being seen, and, I think that goes a long way. I mean, not every company can extend, that level, but that's what makes you guys unique, right? And there's so many other I would call them perks, throughout, the space and throughout the country, and I know you extend, some of those out too, the gatherings that you have and the celebrations, and, here on campus, you have so many amenities that just, just take it up a notch, right? And really show the employees that they care. And you're not an area that has a ton of restaurants and, all of those other amenities available. So you've made it or your point, right, to provide all that here. And like you were saying, you actually stay on campus quite a bit, just to have lunch down in, your beautiful cafe and, the coffee bar. I mean, the chai tea I got this morning
Mm,
was just as good as anywhere else I would
great,
go,
good feedback.
So I feel like those are, I don't know that those really define the culture, but I think that's a product of your culture, right? You're starting with taking care of people, and all of their needs that it trickles down, very heavily into, the amenities and, you have a great fitness center and, all the things that really show that, hey, we care about more than just your brain and what you
Right,
bring
right.
to the job. We care about how you live, your well-being and everything else. So I think that was very evident here on campus, and I'm
It's
sure that you extend that, throughout your other locations
It's a
too.
lot of fun. I'll offer an invite to our folks watching and listening. If you'd like to come check us out, please do so, and you can get in touch with Christina or myself, and would be happy to host you here to come learn more. If I may, there's something else I think that stands out. It's really outside of caring for our people. It's really the investment we take into making sure that our team members feel supported with growth. Right.
Mhm.
So we may have a team member who's on the mechanical side of our business who may be interested in learning more about electrical. We may have someone in the technology department who may want to learn more about research and development or manufacturing. There are, we want to invest in our people so that they're not only investing in themselves, but secondarily they're helping the company. So
Yeah.
that culture of investment, A, B, continuous learning, C, like I always say, like I want to hear from you about what you want to do, and making sure the employee feels like they have a voice. Very important. We do hold a high bar for performance. We always say that we're not a company culture of quote unquote watching the clock. You need to be here
Mhm.
at 8 o'clock. You need to leave at 5. We don't have the watching the clock policy. It just doesn't exist. But at the same time, there is the high expectation of performance and
Right.
what I call radical transparency around performance, which we'll touch on later. So I think that's huge. The other thing is whether it's a win with our manufacturing company or our contracting business,
Yeah.
we celebrate wins together. And there's nothing more evident of that than when we have something called Ring the Bell. And when we celebrate awards, we're actually sitting across from the Ring the Bell station, which I wish I could show you. But it's fun. I mean, we have our entire costing estimating team, our pre-construction team sit there. We bring in our sales folks, we bring in our operations folks, we bring in our project managers, and everyone rallies around someone getting this. Think about this gavel at, like, if you were at a carnival and you get a chance to swing the gavel, ring the bell, and it's like
Right.
at that point, I talk about family quite a bit at this company because we're family owned. You're all brothers, sisters. You're all kind of on the same team, and that's the culture that we've created. It's pretty fun.
The work family.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a picture of Ring the Bell and we'll post it.
Yeah.
We have a gong at our studio.
Oh, so
Yeah.
cool.
So I
I'll have to
love
come check that out.
I get FOMO if I'm in the other room and somebody rings that gong. Like, wait, what happened? What did
Yeah,
we do?
agreed.
Drawings go out or major deadlines are hit or, just those wins. And I think it's so important, to have something either figuratively or literally, to be able to do that. Um,
We actually have a local Fortune 500 client that we did some business with recently, and we actually invited them here to help ring the bell, and we rallied around them. So it was like it
nice.
was more than just our employees. It was like, hey, having that new client be a part of that culture was really cool,
Yeah.
and they really appreciated it. So
Well, bringing the client into the story and that's a whole nother tangent we could go down, but
100%.
bringing the client into the story is what I think we're all about, and we are in particularly. What have you done, intentionally to protect the culture, as the company grows? And you touched on this a little bit, but is there anything else that's specific, that you want to share about that?
I think it's a lot of it is about what you reward and what you tolerate. I'd say culture isn't just what you say, right? I think
Right.
it's a lot of, and it's not just something written on a wall. It's how each of your people um, respond, interact.
It's
Yeah,
how you feel on
it's how
Sunday
so
night.
it's 100%. It's like, yeah, we were talking about getting some of the jitters before this podcast. I said to Christina, I was like, if you don't have jitters, you know you're doing something wrong. Because I mean, it's no different than going, if for anyone that's played sports and going into a game and getting called into the action. Like, that's a good thing. The day you wake up without jitters is the day you probably need to question things. But we invest heavily in leadership development. That's the only way, going back to your first question that you just talked
Yeah.
to scale. And obviously when you're having rapid growth, that's important. Secondarily, we make sure our core values show up in real decisions. That's critical. And they're not just posted on the wall, like I said earlier. And last, we stay close to our field. There can't be this us versus them divide. There needs to be
Mhm.
consistency. And one of the things our owners hold us accountable to is making sure we're in the field often. You can't be like in the rosy tower, right? And not seeing
Right.
them. So we do a great job with all leadership from our chairman down to our project managers of getting into the field consistently, deliberately, and timely. And it's not just once a year; it's several times a year. And the nice thing is we have tools that allow us to connect with our field representatives and know who they are on each job site, which is really something I've never seen before.
That's super important to stay connected to the outside.
100%. So a lot of street cred goes to, our IT team who helped grow some of these or build some of these tools. Now I could walk on before going to a site. A, I can know who that superintendent is. B, I can know who the entire who our foreman is, who our rough folks that are doing some of the rough, the trim, who those team members are, and understand the scope, understand the project, because we have so many going on throughout the country. And really, to your point, it brings that connection and that local touch or feel to it, and it's really that homegrown environment that we love. So
How can they conversely, connect back to, the home base?
yeah, so
That
we do a lot here at home base where we bring our field in quite frequently annually. It's not just like one and done. It's not a hit and run approach. So um, you'll learn as we kind of go through our conversation today. We've built different types of spaces to promote investing in our people. And one of the spaces that stands out is our camp space, where no different in healthcare. My wife's in healthcare, where they have continuing education. We do something very similar with our space named camp, where if someone wants to go from a foreman to a superintendent, they have the ability to um, uh, a, get trained, B, look for areas of efficiency. At the same time, we're testing their eye for areas of deficiency. So really looking at not only organic kind of best practices for your talent and skill set that you're advertising, A, as a new hire, or B, as a promotion, but looking at things I call left brain, right brain, the other way to see, okay, you say you're a pipe bender. Yeah, come share with us how you're actually doing it before you're hired or during the hiring process. And then secondarily, if you're the master electrician, show us where there are code-based deficiencies in said area, because we want to see, you may be able to do things by the book, but we also want to see that business side of you, right? If there are code-based items. So I think this camp space that has evolved over the years, it's like nothing I've ever seen.
It's not. It's a very impressive, just kind of technology playground, if you
Mm.
will.
Yep.
And it's all hands on and, full mock-ups and, it's very cool to walk through and see and you can share for a hot minute. I know you do these competitions.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So talk about that for just a second because I think it's really fun when you bring in teams to actually go and do the things.
I think when you get down to it, we try to make the workplace fun. And
Mhm.
so, because we have a family who supports healthy competition, we're able to create competitions across each of the regions. So we have 9 regions at our company, and we always talk about holding the bar high, and we live and breathe that in everything we do. And so we do competitions each year for our senior vice presidents to pick the best team in the Pacific Northwest versus the best team in the Southeast versus the best team in the Southwest, and again all the regions that say, okay, put your money where your mouth is. We're going to put 50 grand up for grabs, and the best team wins. And so what they do is they'll come here to fly them in. They'll do some competitions locally in the field,
Sure.
and they'll it's fair and balanced. So they
To get the
allow
best of the
get the
best
best of the best, but
too.
they do their competitions locally. They find out who comes in first, second, or third, and then that first place team has a chance to come to headquarters and come to our camp facility, where we have units laid out that don't have anything installed in them, and we bring them in for healthy competition. And what's great about this is the night before they get their drawings, they kind of rally around, they study the drawings, and then that next morning, they come in and it's timed. It's judged based on quality and accuracy,
Mhm.
and it's also judged on safety. And so what you do is you're now creating this healthy environment of competition. It's fun. There's money up for grabs, And it's so cool. It just the whole company rallies around it. It's videotaped, right? So the guys we're making sure the field guys who may have come in second place, I'm sorry, have a chance to kind of see who's winning, and they cheer them on remotely. They're cheering them on locally, and it's those types of celebrations and team environments where we're able to rally and create just a different sense side of the culture, if you will. That's competition.
Absolutely. And it's a fun way to keep people, honing their skills, right? I mean,
One
because they have something they attain to be good at what they do, but then you throw in a little something like that, and there's just a little bit more of an edge that
Yeah.
might come in there. And, I want to be in the competition next year, so I'm
Well,
going to
and it
learn what I needed to
right,
do in
right.
order to be able to qualify for that. So I think that's really interesting.
And as we've grown into different scope offerings, so we've gotten into mechanical, we've gotten into plumbing, we've really helped our technology business has gotten into different scopes such as HVAC controls and BMS. It's really cool to see our employees say, I want in next year. And then that feedback for us as leaders, we're able to constantly evolve that program to now where, again, I talked about the war on talent earlier. We've had to think differently about how when our business is scaling and growing and there may be a shortage of electricians on the market, how do we start leveraging unique offerings like prefab
Yeah.
and building things before they hit the job site and doing different types of competitions within those environments. So now we have a prefab tough rougher competition. We call that contest, sorry, tough rougher. We have a tough rougher
Mhm.
competition for our contracting businesses. So again, evolving with employee-based feedback is important and just as important than anything else. So it's become fun. Um, there's so much more to talk about, but
Yeah, no, it
I'll
is
talk
fun.
for Christina's ears off. So
So that's a little bit about like how you see culture showing up across, your space and on campus. And so anything else you wanna touch on there? And then, seeing that space influence how the teams collaborate and perform. And I think what you just shared is a perfect example. But aside from like the field guys and the performance, what does that look like, just in the corporate space too? And we've been fortunate enough to work on several of those spaces and collaboration spaces and the spaces that people come together. And, so what does that look like, and how are you seeing that helps, like the manifestation of the performance,
yeah,
in those spaces and how it really helps to pull all that together?
I think there's a lot to unpack with this one. So I'll break it into some ways. So number one, you see it in the energy and how the people interact and how quickly decisions get made. You also see how collaborative the environment is. The spaces reflect transparency, accessibility, and movement.
Yeah.
You touched on this earlier. We have a space named the Surge. It's our on-campus cafe, and what I love about this is you know, usually some companies may not have those affordabilities, if you will. And every day of the week, I come into lunch, I see different departments, I see different team members, and I'm able to just do little things like, hey, I did this the other day with one of our team members. I said, hey, I'd love to buy you lunch, and it's like, really, really, like little things like that go a long way.
Yeah.
But it's not just one time a week. It's like, hey, I'm doing it 4 or 5 days a week now. And it's not just me. All the leadership at Power Design is doing that. So I think that's just an example of the surge. The other thing I love about the surge is if you're working late and you call our chef and you have a deadline to hit, so chef will cook a home cooked meal for you to bring home for
I
your
love
family,
that.
which is, I mean, tell me where else that happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Um,
When we were working on that space, with Natalie and, we started hearing all of the things that the chef does, and this is what we need to accommodate, when designing the spaces and all of that. I thought that was fascinating and just awesome,
yeah,
that employees can count on that,
yeah,
and no, it's not easy, to then have to go home and provide for your family and,
right,
or just have a meal for yourself
right,
after you've worked all night,
yeah, agreed.
just to be left on your own at 9 o'clock at night trying to find somewhere to,
Yeah,
do takeout.
I think it's designed to support how we work, but secondarily, it's we obviously have a fast-paced, team-oriented and highly engaged environment. So I think those little things. I mean, you talked about we have a gym, we have a wellness place. That now we're getting a spa, which should be done shortly. We're having cryotherapy. Health and wellness is critical to the well-being of the support of our team members and employees. And secondarily, it's just as important for the field. We have the same um, criticalities in the field around safety, being healthy, making sure we have programs that extend for mental health to our field team members. And so making sure that, again, we get away from this us versus them mentality, and it's really unified in fabric and approach.
Yeah.
And those programs go a long way because it demonstrates to our field that's why we're here. That's why we exist. That's why I always say we're here to serve, right? And when you're able to have that same theme weaved into someone 3,000 miles away, goes a long way. They don't
Sure.
just feel like they're on an island. They feel like they're part of a bigger, broader culture that's bigger than us or them. And it's really about we. I always talk about the we dynamic that Power Design's created, and I think that says a lot about what the Permy family's vision was when they first started the
It's a
company.
very comprehensive
One,
we.
so
What, and if you can share, what does that look like for people that are across the country, several states away when they don't have access to the amenities on campus? What does that look like for them? Do they
yeah,
get, you know, membership? So how does that
yeah.
articulate into what their world looks like?
Great question. So we built with our HR team. We don't use the word HR here. We have our branding for everything. You'll learn about Power Design. It's called the Source. But the Source has been able to build programs for all our remote employees to take advantage of, such as gym memberships and discounts to certain gyms nationally. Um, we do a very good job of making sure that someone from headquarters is in that field often. And if you're in California, you're likely seeing someone at least 2 or 3 times a month. And
Okay.
it's not just one time every quarter. So we have our executive representatives who are part of our business development team who are continuously flying in, bringing lunch, showing up, doing lunch and learns, making sure that it's more than just our team. It's also the partners that we're working with, our general contracting partners, our developers. So it's not one dimensional an approach. It's really like, hey, we have partners here too. That developers are our partner, that general
Right.
contractors are our partner. There may be a few, I called them power partners earlier, who work with us,
That extended
that
team.
extended team.
Yeah.
And so between our project managers, our EXRs, our executive team, consistent look and feel, high level of touch. And then those programs are extended uh, to everyone remotely. So you have, whether it's the adoption program, whether it's the health and wellness program, whether it's, we had someone in San Francisco reach out. They wanted to do something around volunteering and helping a local charity. We have programs available for those supers or foremen to leverage on. And we did a great video of one of our team members out west, and we were able to give back locally. So again, again, I say this all the time, it's not one dimensional an approach. It's very much extend these programs to someone that's far away. Let's try to do our best where we can to make it as level of a playing field, but more importantly, that TLC, right? Making
Yeah.
sure that same care is given back to someone 1,000 miles away versus it is down the block.
That's that high, touch level too,
Yep.
and we are infinitely smaller than power design, but understand that part of it and why we've stayed so small is, having the leadership touch on the clients and on the projects is super important to us, just like it is, for you guys. A little bit different to scale, and we've chosen not to scale to 3,000 people, but it's the same concept, right?
Right.
It's just multiplied and scaled
Yep.
out. And I think having those folks in the field, and I know you were doing kind of a tour last year when we were working on some projects for Cornet, to go into the field and see all of those people. And I hope that it's meaningful for them, to see that presence, to have, people coming in more than just somebody's coming to check on me, but more like somebody's coming to check on me. Somebody's coming to make sure I'm okay
Yeah.
and that our
Yeah.
teams are taken care of, in these remote locations.
I think what I know you would hear is it's not about checking in. It's more about being a part of the environment and being a part of something bigger. Um, think you'll also hear leadership at this company is extremely accessible, 24 hours a day. Whether that's our chief operating officer Joe McAuliffe or our chairman, anyone on our SALT committee, which is our senior leadership operations team. A, we're accessible. B, some of us work 24 hours more than others. Somewhat of a joke. But my point being is readily accessible, easy to find, and that's remained the same whether we were at 300 or 3,200 employees.
Yeah, I love that, and I know, firsthand, in helping to design spaces that you're not an ivory tower kind of group at all. You're very accessible. You're right here, and your offices, are very welcoming, and it's not, you can have groups come in and meet,
Yep.
and it's very hospitable versus, I'm being called to the principal's office
That's right. Yeah.
mentality.
Open door policy. I mean, there's really, uh, that's just the culture we've created.
Awesome. Well, we already kind of touched on how you connect your field teams and your office teams, so we've kind of gotten there. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Or as you're continuing to grow, because I know you're not stopping, how is, your thinking around the workplace evolving? Is there anything that's going to change,
Yep.
or is it just scaling up? What does that look like?
I'll go back to the field and office. I think this is critically important. So I think it all starts with really the Permy family. Mitch was an apprentice. He grew up in the field, and Mitch is our founder, and his attention to detail and making sure that we never lose that aspect of who we are as a company is our Northern Star. He grew through the ranks. Our a journeyman electrician, our apprentice, is just as important as our chairman. And you'll hear that out of his mouth. So we don't lose a sense of who we are and where we came from. We're grounded in that. And if you don't, that's who we are. That's why hiring is so important to us.
Right.
When we look at the field, this is pretty awesome. A few years ago, we developed our senior super council. And this is a team of elected officials who are voted on by their peers to represent our field. And those elected officials get to make decisions about how to better our field teams.
Nice.
Little things that go a long way, like the type of drawings or what's needed on the drawings to help build a job. Little things like, hey, one of the council members said it would go a long way if we could meet and have a collaborative session before the job was built with our project management teams, our design teams, our people who are building the job. So our PM teams, our office teams, our field teams, and also our general contracting and development partners, and get them in a room and talk and get collaborative before we even step foot on the site.
Yeah, full
So
charrette.
those ideas are welcome, and more importantly, are acted upon, right? So that those things go a long way. Someone had said, what, we want our senior super council to have accessibility to different types of or better types of tools. And so with that feedback, we went out and we developed an intentional partnership with Milwaukee. And Milwaukee is one of our partners, and we're very, very proud of that. But it's this type of feedback where our field now has that voice, and without for our field, we're nothing, right? So I'll make
Yeah.
sure that's clear.
Yeah.
So and lots of ideas, and they're encouraged to that. And by the way, they're not just remote; they come in here 2-3 times a year, and they're sharing these ideas, and they're sharing different ways about different types of either roles needed, tools needed, different platforms they want us to invest in, and it could be things around the community. You cited the example with San Francisco before. And honestly, some of the feedback that we got from most field teams were, hey, there's natural disasters taking place all over the country,
Yeah.
right? And for those who remember, a couple of years ago, the state of Texas, there was a freeze. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
And employees, houses didn't have water, and so we built this special operations squad that was direct feedback from our field teams that said we need help not only for our own people, but for our partners.
Yeah.
And so I call them SWAT, but it's called Special Operations, and these are skilled tradesmen and women that came directly as a result of the field, who now deploy. We have 300 to 400 of them on staff. It's run by this gentleman named Bobby Bryan, and it's like, we get a call, hold my drink, sorry, and we're there, moment's notice, no questions asked. And it's really like nothing. I say culture is everything, but again, without that senior super council, that would not have taken place. So again, it's all about empowerment. And what are you doing? It's more than just words. Act, do what you say what you do.
Yeah. Well, and giving voices to
Right.
those people that wouldn't typically get a voice and being able to share that. And then, like you said, and once you have that information, what do you do with it? And you have to put it in action. And I love that the culture just permeates beyond power design and your direct, partners. I love that also trickles out to, or actually pushes out, hold my beer, pushes out to, all of these other partners, that you're working with in the field. Because without them, we are nothing as well.
Same
I
page.
mean, and that is at our core, Create and Co, that and Co are those partners. It's all of the other experts and consultants that we bring in to do the project because we cannot do it alone, so we have to make sure that we're taking care of those people as well, and making sure they're developing those relationships. So I love that you're just going above and beyond to make sure that that is all, that they're taken care of as well.
Well, I think a lot
Your
of
own
a
people.
lot of it stems with, management and our founders. Um, in any company, it's very easy if you're working with partners or different clientele when the going gets rough to point fingers. And we have a culture of extreme accountability.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
if we see someone falling down, whether you're working for us or not, we're gonna reach in to help first. That's the attitude. Regardless if you're on directly on our team or not. And I think those little things go such a long way,
They do.
um, because that's in everything we do, from the cook in the kitchen to our accountants to our field representatives, even on scopes that we may not be touching, to offer that lending hand.
Yeah.
And if you can get that, and you mentioned this about your company, Christina, and have that weave into your DNA, you've really done something special. And I think it speaks volumes about ownership, culture, but more importantly, all the people who have embraced it and who have now made it uh, team. It becomes a team sport.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it empowers them to think that way
correct.
too, and I mean, it is that friendly sandbox mentality, right? And we want to be able to take care of our partners first. It's not we don't wanna throw people under the bus. We all wanna walk away from the
That's
project feeling good, and successful, and, so we can take care of things before the client sees it, before the next level gets there, let's take care of it. Let's take care of it together, and
100%.
then the next time, something comes up, we know that we've all got each other's back, and that obviously radiates with you guys, to a much larger scale. And I love that. Um, so at the end of the day, when you think about the culture that you guys have built, and the spaces, what does creating a place look like and feel like to you?
Whew. Um, wow. So I think this is a lot. Again, I say a lot to unpack with this one. So creating a space to me is being able to create, I call it like frictionless spaces where collisions take place, collaboration is fostered. Um, and I used this word earlier, and I mean this in the truest sense, where radical transparency occurs.
Mhm.
It can't just be like, hey, here's my goal on the wall on the screen. And it's so I think for there, you feel ownership over your work. You have cross-team, cross-functional collaboration, whether I'm, someone in design or someone with field ops, right? So there's that cross-functional collaboration.
Right.
In the sales world, it's being able to in our costing with our estimators, it's being able to know that while they may not be local to that job, but they absolutely have to know what's code-based requirements and honestly how mechanical systems work in Seattle versus how they work in Miami, right?
Right.
So I think making sure that we have that knowledge, A, B, we're those subject matter experts, but secondarily, we're creating spaces where, with us, we have one office done by design, right?
Mhm.
And why did we do that? Well, our founder said it best. He didn't want Tommy's office in Northern California to be different than what Mitch and the Permy family built here in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Right.
Because what happens is you start to get different types of cultures and different types of SOPs, and
Yeah.
it becomes his way versus our way. And so what I loved about this was when we started growing and creating spaces, we were now able to say, look, we have these 9 regions, we have 30 states of operations. If work started to slow down in California, that project management team or costing team could quickly evolve and move over to the Southeast where we had a lot of work without losing any of that momentum, without losing the culture, without losing those SOPs. And so for us, creating those spaces that were dynamic to serve and support regions
Yeah.
and moving from region A to region B versus packing up your family and having to move across country, critically important for how we do business.
That's a
Now
good point.
you could remain at one company. You didn't have to pack up your family, pack your bags. You're literally moving across the hallway, which I think most employees would prefer.
Yeah.
So, and that's our way, right? Not every company is built the same way, but that for us, when we talk about spaces, the dynamic transparency of spaces and how we allow that cross-team, cross-functional teamwork, whether you're in ops or sales or costing or project management or accounting, huge, huge.
Yeah.
So,
When I think what defines place then for you guys is actually embracing and using those spaces the way that they're intended to. So
Mm.
you say, it's a lot of transparency, it's a lot of collision, it's a lot of how we support or you support, your teams in those spaces. And I think by them being empowered to use them in that way,
Yep.
creates that place, that sense of belonging, no matter where they are geographically, which I
Correct.
think is super powerful.
Yeah, I say it's user spaces that support performance, culture, and connection. And we've had the privilege of working with you and your company to help us create a lot of those spaces. So I will say thank you because
Oh,
clearly a lot of
it's
them
been a
have worked.
privilege.
It's been fun.
Yes.
Um, and also just Christine, watching what you've done for the greater Tampa Bay area, you and your company, it's been really fun to watch. I say this all the time. I'd like to go visit more of the spaces that you've seen. So I see all the pictures and I continue to be impressed. So like I said, hats off to what, you being ambassador for the community and some of the companies that you've been working with and getting those stories out there. It's been fun.
Thank
It's fun to
you.
see.
Yeah, we love it. We love our community
Yeah,
and you want to support it. And we love being in partnership with you guys in that community. So I want to thank you for being part of this interview today.
of
It's a
course.
great conversation.
I've really
And
enjoyed it. It's been fun, and hopefully our audience has been able to take something away from this and learn some more about power design, and obviously with what Christina has built with creating companies. So, we can't thank you enough.
we have talked about a lot of those stories today, which I love. So just to wrap it up, we really appreciate you being here. And of course, don't forget to share and subscribe to Create a Place and tune in for some more of these great interviews. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks, Trent.
Of course, thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Hey, friends, if you enjoyed today's episode, please join in the conversation at Create a Place Podcast on LinkedIn or Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe. We're so glad you tuned in to Create a Place and look forward to seeing you next time.